Good morning. Sorry, I'm just making sure. I'm extra clumsy, so I'm kind of just making sure my husband's iPad that he let me borrow doesn't fall off this stand here while I do this, because that would be me. Good morning. Welcome to Creative Mornings. It's so exciting to see so many first-time people here. I want to continue Kim's little game real quick. Stand up if you have a fear of public speaking, because that's me. I do hold a microphone. My husband reminded me, you hold a microphone every week at church. Yeah, but someone else wrote those words for me. So I'm a little nervous, but we're gonna make it. It's gonna be good. Today we're gonna talk about justice and how I did something. I think that's kind of a novel concept, that you see something you want to do something about, but then you actually do it. So I'm going to talk about what I did, but then also what a few people who went before me did, and I think it's going to be really good. But before we keep going, Kim mentioned that this is a group that's run by volunteers. I attended the very first Creative Mornings a couple years ago at Hot Shops, which I love that we have outgrown Hot Shops. That's a great problem to have, having more volunteers. But I bounced up to Kim after the very first one and I was like, hey, let me help. Let me do stuff. And it took a while before we really got volunteers up off the ground, but now there's a team of several people every month that are working on keeping this event going and working on where it's going in its next phase of life, led by our fearless leader, Kim. So can we just give a round of applause real quick to all the volunteers? Awesome. So that was really more for me to just get my nerves out and, experience this microphone for a second. But I am really excited about all the volunteers I get to work with all the time. Justice. So Friday morning, that's really what you want to talk about, right? Justice. It's a nice, light topic. But when we were picking the speakers for all the different events this year, it kept jumping off the page at me. I saw this word justice and it kept jumping out, and I have these voices in the back of my head of oh, you should do it. You should do something. You have something to say about that. But I think there was another speaker suggestion for this topic, and I remember thinking very vividly, she sounds really cool. I want to hear what she has to say. I don't remember who she was or what her history was, but I remember thinking don't do it, just she's gonna be a great speaker, let's do it. But I kept, as we're sitting there during this meeting, having this voice in the back of my head saying, Natalie, you need to do this. So I threw my hat in the ring and the team said yes, which was a little terrifying for me. And I've been so excited, so that was February or March, I've been so excited. And then a couple of weeks ago, I start realizing oh, you need to actually write down what you're gonna say to people about justice. And that's the point that all these voices start coming into my head of Natalie, you haven't really done that much. I don't know if your story is really gonna make an impact. Maybe that other gal is still available. Should we call her? Should I call Kim right now and say, hey, I don't wanna do this, can someone else do it? And I remembered, as I was having all those thoughts and feelings and insecurities, I remembered another time that I had felt that really strongly. And it tends to be, for me, when I'm trying to do something important. And so the last time I really felt these feelings pretty vividly was in 2013. So I had just moved to Nebraska from Florida. I like the Nebraska summers, not the winters. I am not a snow person. But I moved here pretty recently. I had just gotten married. We had a baby on the way. Really exciting time of life for us. And I connected with the gal who was running our community outreach at church. And she was working on a women's event, and it was going to be this really cool idea. It was, you come and you maybe get a massage, you could get a bang trim, a manicure, all in the same space. It was a time for women to come together, relax, have some good food, have a drink maybe, just hang out. And we get to the point in the planning where we're ready to, ask for money. And so we go talk to our lead pastor, and he says, guys, you're not starting a women's ministry, you're the community outreach people. Like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. If you're gonna do it, you need to have a cause attached to it. But we really liked our idea, so we decided we would find a cause that women could relate to so that we could keep everything we'd already planned and do it exactly how we wanted to, but also do some good. So as we were getting into it, my cohort in this, she happened to have some connections with a friend who was getting an anti-human trafficking organization off the ground in Lincoln. And their goal was to help prevent, but also rescue and be a safe place if someone was being trafficked to come. And so we got connected, and we're like, great, so we'll add some time into this event where there's a speaker, and they'll tell you about human trafficking, and we'll add a silent auction. You can pay for things, and whatever the silent auction brings in, we'll donate back to this organization. Cool, we got a cause, we get to keep our event, basically how we wanted it to be, and we did some good along the way. Well, so as we're planning this, I had heard the term human trafficking before, but I don't think I really processed what that looked like. And so I pictured, like so many people, a little girl in Africa, or a child soldier, or someone just, a little distant from me, not so much in my world or in my realm. But as we were getting into this, I realized how prevalent human trafficking is, not only in the United States, but specifically in Omaha. And I started to realize that people who are being trafficked, some of them look like me, some of them sound like me, some of them grew up really similar to me. And I come to find out that every month in Omaha, 675 people are sold for sex. I'm going to say that one more time. Every single month, just in our city, 675 people are sold for sex. And this is a thing that in my head was so distant from me. It was so far away. And even as I'm looking at this number, I say, well, they're like, it's not people I know. It's, people are being brought in from other countries. We need to figure out what to do about that problem. If they can't get here, then they can't be sold here, whatever it is. And then I start to hear these stories. And I meet a gal who was trafficked. She was raised in Millard. She had a large family, and she was sold by her neighbor for 8 or 9 years without anyone in her family ever knowing that it was happening. And I realized this girl, she's like a young white girl, middle-class family. She's not anything that you think of when you think of people that are at risk. And so she told her story, and it really had an impact on me. And then as we're meeting and we're working, I keep hearing these other stories. And I hear about a little girl who was trafficked at 12 years old. She had, younger than that, because by the time I heard her story, she had a 2-month-old baby. And she didn't know who the father was because within a 2-week period, she had been sold to a couple of neighbors and then also raped by her father and her grandfather in that same time period. So it was at this point in what I thought was getting into, hey, we're gonna plan a fun women's event, that I realized I have to do something. Like, something has to happen with this, but I don't know what to do. I'm not a cop. I'm not a lawyer. I can't help people recover from this. I don't really have a voice in this arena. But what I started to realize is, okay, what do I have? I am a pretty stellar event planner. That's always come really natural to me. I had a good eye for marketing, and I could get the word out there that, hey, we're doing something, come join us. And I have what I call the superpower of abundant empathy. Sometimes in my life that's a great thing, and other times I watch a commercial and just sob. But in this instance, it was a great thing because I cared so deeply about what was happening to people in my city, and then I have a little bit of the ability to make other people care, to bring them into what I'm trying to do. So what can I do to make that happen? To bring people into this issue, to make them care? Well, I can help raise awareness. I can help teach people about it, and maybe I can raise some money along the way. So our first year of the event that we ended up calling Lost and Found happened, and we had about 78 people attend. I think that's my next slide. Yep. And we raised about $3,000. And I felt really good about it. And the gal I was working with, she felt really good about it too. And for her, it was like, great, we did this thing, check off the box, which was great. For me, I couldn't stop there. I had to do more. And so I start planning year 2. And in year 2, we raised $6,000 and we had 120 people attend. It was great. It's almost double the money. It's almost double the people. Not quite. I'm not very good at math. That's not one of my strong suits. But a lot more people showed up the second year. But part of that is because I made a very pivotal mistake in the second year. In the course of learning about human trafficking, I would meet people who had been through this experience, and I started to hear their stories. And I met this gal, I'm gonna call her Carly. I met Carly, and she was pretty recently out of trafficking at the time that we were planning our second Lost and Found. And Carly was like me. She desperately wanted to do something. She had experienced this, she hadn't quite healed, but she really wanted to do something. And she asked me, she said, hey, can I tell my story? Great, let's do it. We'll give you some time during the event. As long as you feel good, we'll leave some leeway, the day of the event. If you're just not feeling it, I'll have a plan. We'll move past it. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. And then we had this idea kind of collectively, our group that was planning and including Carly, of if we share her story with the media, we can get more people to come. We can probably raise more money. We can probably do more good because they can relate to her and her face and her story more than they can relate to this thing that, let's be honest, they've probably been ignoring anyways. So Carly gets on the news, she shares her story, and there's about 3 days between the time it's released and when the event happens. And in that 3 days, I got a call at 2 a.m. and it's Carly, and she says, hey, can you come pick me up? So I go to pick her up, and I find out that I'm picking her up from her pimp's house. Because in the time that the story has aired, her family has contacted her and completely disowned her and told her why would you get on the news and tell these lies about what's happened to you? Why would you bring shame on our family like that? And then also her pimp found her and threatened the lives of her children to the point that she went back in because that was the only way to save her kids. And so here's these voices again. Here I am thinking I'm doing good, and all these voices creep in of, Natalie, what have you done? What have you done? You wanted to raise some money, you wanted to do some good, but she was out. She was out, and because of you, she's now back in. So I really wanted to just be done, just to stop. But we were 2 days out from an event, and I knew it was gonna do some good, and Carly, she was a little desensitized to everything and said, you need to still do it. You need to do it. Like, if you don't, this is for nothing. So we do the event, we raise $6,000, where 120 people hear about it. And while I will never make that mistake again, I'll never be so careless with someone else's story, I still knew I had to keep going. So now it took a couple years off too. I needed to heal a little bit from that mistake, but we're now 4 Lost and Founds in. We've done 4 of them, and we've raised $17,000, and we've educated 450 people, and we're not done with it yet. But it's interesting, as I was like reviewing that story, I realized there are other people who have had this experience where they feel the pull to do something, but the voices in their head are saying, you're not enough, you don't have the skills, you don't have what it takes. And you guys might be saying that right now. Natalie, I'm not an event planner. I'm not a marketer. I don't know what my cause is. I don't know how to do what you're talking about out there. I don't have the superpower of empathy. Great. Can you put on a dress? Can you wear a bow tie? Because that is what the founder of Dressember put together for other people to join in her advocacy movement. So her name is Blythe Hill, and she describes the story as she was in college, she was a creative, she's taking all the general education class, and she's kind of hating life at the time. You know, it's so stifling sometimes for creatives to go through that academic monotony, and she just hated it. So she offhandedly challenged herself. She said, I'm gonna wear a dress every day of the month. She was trying to pull herself out of a rut. And so she did. And it was December, so she called it Dressember because she's clever and she wanted to put a name to it. And the month finished, she had succeeded and she was good. Well, the next year rolled around and a bunch of her girlfriends asked, hey, are you gonna do Dressember again? I wanna do it with you. So the next year, there's like 5 or 6 of them. She hadn't really been thinking about doing it, but cool, if people wanna do it with me, I'll do it. Well, that year passed. And then the 3rd year, her girlfriends' girlfriends wanted to join in. And this was about the time that like the Movember campaign was really taking off for prostate cancer research. And she had the thought of, oh, people aren't humoring me, maybe we're really onto something. She had been trying to figure out how she could affect change in the realm of human trafficking for a while. She said, maybe I can raise some money. Maybe through this campaign we can raise some money. So in the 5th year of Dressember, she lined up with International Justice Mission, and they raised, so she lined up with International Justice Mission and set a goal. She wanted to raise $25,000 in a month. This was she calls it her big scary goal. We're gonna do it, it's gonna be hard, but we can get out there, we can really push. So she got everything together, and they hit her big scary goal in day 3 of December. And so she moved on, and that first year they had 1,200, 5th year, but first year of really being public, 1,200 women participate in 32 countries and raised $165,000 to donate to International Justice Mission, who rescues and then restores the lives of people who have been trafficked or held in, they do any type of slavery. And then the 2nd year came and went, and they had 2,600 women participate and $462,000 raised. And this is all just coming from Blythe's idea of like, hey, I'm gonna wear a dress for a month and see how it goes. And then eventually other people came into it. And this year, the 2,600 women year, is the first year I started participating. And what Blythe does with Dressember is you kind of can participate however you want. You wear a dress every year of the month, and then now it's expanded because men wanted to participate too. In the early years, lots of men wore dresses all month of December long, and that was a great conversation starter for people, asking them every day, hey, why are you in a dress today? But then they expanded it, and men wear bow ties now. And you talk to people about it, you wear a button, you can post it on social media, but everyone you encounter, the goal is that they're asking you. For me, something I do here in the frigid Nebraska winter is I often don't allow myself to wear tights or leggings with my dress. And so then people ask you, they say, are you crazy? It's like 3 degrees out here and you're in a dress with no leggings. And I said, no, I'm not crazy. I'm raising money. Let me tell you about this. And then they donate. And sometimes it's $2 and sometimes it's $5. But for me personally, this year, I think I raised $250. and I felt great about it. It was something. I did something. And then the following year, I raised a little more. I wore, more dresses. This past year when I was pregnant, because I didn't want to wear a different dress every day, I wore the same dress every day of the month. And then so people ask me, are you crazy? Have you done laundry? Are you broke? What's going on? Because you're wearing the same thing every day. But it's been a conversation starter. And through December, I've been able to raise in 4 years $3,000 personally for this, just because someone else had an idea and then they shared it and then I picked it up. I did something. But you're saying, oh, I don't want to wear a dress every month in December. Like, some people think dresses are easy, but really dresses can be so hard, especially in the middle of the winter. Or, Natalie, I don't have that many bow ties, or it just doesn't hit home with me. But, this is Blythe. She started it. I love this quote. Sorry, I'm going to backtrack for a second because I got off of my notes. But I love this quote, and this is when I started working in anti-human trafficking. It's one of the things that really spoke to me, and Blythe is quoted in one of her TED Talks that she said, I think it's human nature to see any huge injustice and think there's nothing I can do about this. I don't have the power, the influence, the money, the time, the qualifications. I would add to that, someone else is going to do something. I don't need to do it. Someone needs to do something, but it's not me. And so I love Blythe's ability just to pick it up and say, I'm going to do something. So here's my next question. You don't want to wear the dress. You don't want to put on the bow tie. Can you play with some sand? Because that is what our next gal, Molly, she saw this issue of human trafficking and said, I need to do something. I need to do something, but I'm a visual artist. What am I going to do? How am I going to make a worldwide impact with like one piece of art? I don't know if it's really going to travel that far. And so she had a thought that the people that are affected by trafficking they are worldwide. And they're kind of falling through the cracks of our society. So Molly developed some red sand that is environmentally friendly, that if someone used it and was approached by, a police officer, they could say, oh, it's biodegradable, it's going to disappear on its own, it's not going to have any effect on the environment. I'm just doing a public art installation to raise awareness for human trafficking. But she didn't want this installation to be difficult. She didn't want you to have to be a skilled artist. You don't need to be a sculptor. You just need to be able to put some sand in a crack in the sidewalk. Because for her, the sand in the crack in the sidewalk was representative of the person who's falling through the cracks of our society. And today, 1 million people have participated in the Red Sand Project, which means not only have 1 million people seen the project, thought, oh, human trafficking, that's a terrible thing, I can do something, and done it, but then there's no way to count how many people saw what those 1 million people did. It's happened in 50 states and 70 countries worldwide. And it all started from Molly just deciding she was going to make some sand, dye it red, and throw it on the sidewalk. Molly says that we can't merely walk over the most marginalized people in our communities, those who fall through the metaphoric cracks. I love that. It rings so true to me. I can't. I just over and over and over again, I said I can't. I can't make change. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. But then I changed the I can't to I can't not do something. I have to do it. I have to do something. And so today, as you're getting ready to go out throughout your day, I want to challenge you. I think you can do something. And I'll have them at the back here somewhere, but I have bags of red sand for each of you. And you can take a couple, I think, but I challenge you, even if human trafficking isn't your issue, today you can do something. You can do something for justice for the people who their voices are marginalized. You can choose to take a step. And it's as simple as grabbing a bag of red sand. I have one that I keep in my purse all the time because if I see a really good crack, I'm gonna throw it in there and I'm gonna take a picture and I'm gonna post it on social media. Guys, it takes me 30 seconds to do that, to shake some sand out of a bag, take a picture, and then share it on social media, because what you'll see happen is some other people will comment on it. And human trafficking might not be your thing, but it might be your friend's thing, and they didn't know it. And it might not be your friend's thing, but they comment on the photo and their friend sees it. And that's how all of these women got to these big movements, and they've made world change. And I think we have to stop saying, I can't, and we have to start thinking, I can do something. That's all I've got for you today. There is red sand on your way out, and I'm so glad you took the time to listen to me. We made it.